here in Riyadh, and yeah, it's you'll see a big smile on my face. You know, we say it's about performance and we say it's about development, and it absolutely is. But I tell you what, when your team gets a victory on day one of the WTA finals, it certainly starts things off. And then secondly, to put an even bigger smile on my face, it's Freddie Nielsen, a podcaster, Control the Controllables favourite, Wimbledon champion, all of those years ago. And Freddie, your first YouTube live. You were with us for the live show in London, but here you are now, Control the Controllables live on YouTube. This is cool, huh?
It's very cool. I feel like I'm not even able to comprehend this technology with my age these days, but it's great to be on. So thanks for having me.
And not at all. And my starting point. So, just first and foremost, anybody that's listening in, we do have some questions we didn't get to last night. So, we will be addressing those tonight. But please do send your questions in, anything you have, especially for Freddie. Like you say, you get me every day, but we don't get the opportunity to ask Freddie Nielsen questions every day. So please do bring them in. We're going to have a little chat with Freddie about his ATP Finals experience back in 2012 after himself and Johnny Murray won Wimbledon, and I think that's going to be a great place to start. Then we're going to have a little review of the day's tennis here in Riyadh, which is finished for the day. Last night we were still going at this time, and then we'll look ahead till tomorrow as well, where the matches continue to come thick and fast. So if I can, Freddie, take you back 2012. And I've talked about this quite a bit this week, and memory serves me correct. You did play US Open with Johnny, but then you didn't play between US Open and London ATP Finals, if that's correct.
It's not correct. We played in Basel.
So you played one more event.
Yeah, just to make sure that we had some matches under our belt
And
before we played London.
okay, and tell me the experience of that. And I was asking this question the other day actually to Harry Heliavara and Henry Patton. Where does the finals, the the end of year finals, where does that sit in terms of, I guess, ambition, in terms of memories, experience, in terms of accomplishments that you've had in your career?
It's by far one of the biggest experiences I've had. Obviously, because it only happened once and it's so grand. The slams itself are in some ways bigger, I think, but that experience, because it's so unique, it was very cool. And for me, it was actually the only time where I was kind of thinking, if this is the reward for playing doubles a year, I could consider playing doubles the only time I've been tempted, because it was such a great experience. And I made the most of it. I was very well aware that I was never going to come back. So I had some friends with me. We had a great experience. We had some good training days. I was there early because Johnny was playing Paris the week before, where he made finals. So I was in good time, soaked everything in. Had a really great time. I was back in London those days. Great, very cool location. I thought it was awesome that we sailed to the O2 Arena. And tennis-wise, it was really good that it was a great experience. We made semifinals. We saved match points in the first two matches. Great experience, great atmosphere. And then it kind of fizzled away a little bit. The last group match was really strange because we had already qualified. And then the semifinal was one of the more anticlimactic matches of my life, to be honest, because we played really well and we were not very clinical. It was really good and really bad at the same time. I think we lost 6-4, 6-3, 3 breaks against Granollers Lopez, who we beat in Wimbledon. I felt like we were all over them, and we won more points than they did, and we just lost pretty clearly. So it was kind of an anticlimactic finish. And then a little side story to that, then I went straight into ATP University at the O2 Arena, where they kind of introduce you to what the ATP is like. And then the next day I got a tour of the locker rooms, which was great.
And the locker rooms with your face on, of course.
Yeah, yeah,
Did it have your face in those days?
yeah. But back in those days, there were only two locker rooms, so we had one for our group and one for the other group. So they had a picture of
Right.
everybody in the same. So it wasn't as unique
Okay.
as I think it is now.
Yeah, well, because the experiences that I've seen in terms of ATP and WTA finals in locker rooms is turning up in Turin uh, with Harry Haliavar and Lloyd Glasspool, and they were sharing a locker room with Nick Kyrgios and
What?
Kokkinakis. And so that's what they did with the doubles players. I think they still do that. They put four players in one locker room, and it's a little bit like when you're at school and you're working out who you're going to sit next to, and it's often done in alphabetical order and those things. But they got Kokkinakis and Kyrgios, who lost all three matches, and as much fun as Nick Kyrgios and Kokkinakis can be, I can say on record they do not look after locker rooms very well. Certainly after losses, and like kind of going in afterwards and just seeing like banana skins everywhere. I think they'd ripped their poster off the wall. It was about as rock and roll as you're ever going to get in tennis, I think. And
Well, if you got to
then
go out, you got to go out in
WTA
style,
finals in
right?
Cancun last year. Well, exactly. Cancun last year was a bit of a shambles, to be honest. As in terms of a locker room, it was like a little hut that you kind of only got access to just before your match. And then this year, it's all singing and dancing. Every individual, and then every team's got their own pictures everywhere, names everywhere, and you use the word grand, and I want to get back to that word, Freddie, because that's definitely what it felt like in Turin. That's definitely what they've made it feel like here in Riyadh as well. It's an event. They've got the light shows, they've got everything that kind of goes with it. They don't have the crowds yet, unfortunately, but it is a really grand experience. Tell us a bit more what you mean about that word grand, and how your experience was in London.
Well, to me, it's kind of larger than life. It's something that you don't see on the tour. It's extremely exclusive. There's 8 singles players, 8 doubles teams, so it's very difficult to qualify for it. There's so much attention on every single match. It gets its own little session. I know the doubles mainly serve as a warm up for the singles matches, but they still have so much more attention than any other match throughout the year, except maybe from the Grand Slam finals or the Olympics. And and it just felt like the entrance was very unique. You kind of in no man's land down in the basement of the locker room, and you walk in London they had the smoke and the heartbeat. You just all of a sudden you just guided in and stood in front of a curtain and say, "All right, here we go." And I was really taken aback by it, and it was really a cool experience. I feel like, and there's you play a match, then you have a day off and you prepare, and they take such good care of you. You feel like you feel like you are somebody or something, which is not something that you feel a lot, especially as a doubles player or like a pretty average player, which I was. So it was pretty magical experience, I have to say. It was you go to get your suit tailored and fitted to make sure you look good for the entrance photos and these kind of things, and it was an experience for a lifetime. That's definitely something that I look back on very fondly.
Bob at home has just spat his cup of tea out when he's heard the Wimbledon champion say that he's an average tennis player. Bob's out there on a Sunday morning hacking away, thinking he's doing all right. He's average, and he's just heard a Wimbledon champion say he's average. So, Bob, don't take it exactly like that. Freddie's he plays himself down. So we'll
I
leave
mean
it
more
there with that one.
from a singles point of view, where I was as a professional player fairly average. I think average is not a bad word. Somebody has to be average, right? There's a lot of people that were below average, and there was a lot of people that was above average. I'm proud to consider myself average. It's not a bad thing. It has the word average has a bad rep. I'm standing up for average.
No, I'm not giving you it. I'm sorry. I'm not giving it to you as a Grand Slam champion. But I want to move into Riyadh. And I don't know how much your eyes has been on. I know you're a very busy man, and there's lots going on in your life. But we've obviously started this weekend. We've had our matches. We talked about yesterday's matches last night, and then today's matches. We started with Gabby and Erin, and I just have to give the girls a shout out for a great performance today. 7-6, 6-4. Saved. If you get a chance to watch their set point that they saved today, it's well worth seeing. 6-5 down in the tiebreak. The ball went up, good lob. Gabby called yours, but then shouted, actually, no, mine. And Erin tried to then get out of the way, completely stacked it on the floor, all 6'2" of Erin. We could hear it in the arena, and somehow Gabby hit a winning smash off her back foot that if the ball came back into play, Erin was on the floor. So they did a great job. It was a fantastic match. And then we had, I don't know if you've seen any of it, but we had Iga Swiatek, obviously vying for that world #1 spot with Arina Sabalenka. She came against Krejcikova, the Wimbledon champion, who has hardly won a match since. She's won 2 matches, I believe, since Wimbledon. One was against WTA 256, and one was against WTA 116. And she had Swiatek on the ropes, 6-4, 3-love double break at one point.
Yes, and let me just start out by saying we had a very similar point at our World Tour finals in London when me and Johnny played. We saved a match point where a pretty average ball came down the middle, and I expected Johnny to take it, he expected me to take it, and we just kind of looked at each other. Nobody was taking it, so I was like, oh, shit, I got to swing for it, and he thought the same, so we both swung for it. And obviously, luckily, he hit a good one, but I full air swung because I was just hoping to do something, so we had a similar point, so I'm happy to hear the girls pulled it out. But yeah, you kind of called that match with Swiatek yesterday, so well done for you. Obviously, a very keen predictor of tennis as you are, but I think, I'm sure that it's pretty clear now that it's fairly quick surface in Saudi Arabia, and I think it's pretty it's paved for Sabalenka to go all the way. In my opinion, I find it difficult to see who is going to stop her, who's going to have the weapons to take the ball away from her racket, and she's just too confident at the moment. So I don't see many I don't see many girls being able to stop her, to be honest.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult, and I'm pleased you said it, Freddie. I would hate to have come on air and had to let everyone know that I got the prediction right yesterday. So now that you've said it, I can go into my thinking a little bit more, and it doesn't always work like this, right? But certainly my thinking was it's going to take Iga a little bit of time to get used to the court. She hasn't played since US Open. A little bit of time to get used to playing matches again. And Krejcikova, I just think this court's made for her, actually. But I don't think that she had the match fitness or maybe the mental fitness in her to quite close the match out. But at 6-4, 3-love, it was like, oh my goodness, there's one winner in this match, and it's not Iga Swiatek. I'm telling you that right now. And she just kind of clawed away and just kept on going, as she does so well. We've seen it so many times. And then ran out a fairly confident winner in the end. And then I went onto the centre court after that, Freddie, and Vicky, my wife, is over here for 3 or 4 days, which has been fantastic. And we went onto the centre court to watch what I was hoping was going to be a spectacular match between the 2 American girls, Coco Gauff and Jess Pegula. It wasn't a great match. I mean, Coco, fair play, she came away as a 3-2 winner. But I've just got a couple of things I'd love to kind of pick with you on, actually, on Coco, because it's one of the first times I've watched her so close. And obviously, she moves out of this world. Her backhand is, I picked her earlier in the week as the backhand of building the ultimate WTA Finals player. And I stand by that now, having watched it. Oh, what a backhand. But on the forehand, and on the serve. I just think there's a couple of quite clear technical issues there that cause her problems. And Pagula was off her game today. She tried to expose it, but she made too many errors. But it does feel like someone this week, as someone seems to do in most of these big events, finds a way of exposing the serve or exposing the forehand. I don't know, from a coaching standpoint, what you see there, and because she gets those things right, she's a multiple Grand Slam winner.
Yeah, and here's the difficult thing, right? You gotta make a decision to change something which has clearly worked to a very good level because she's a Grand Slam champion, and you can. It's easy to tell yourself that it's not that big a problem, and oh, this day it wasn't working, but blah blah blah. I agree with you. There's a hole there because she's too good of an athlete, too good of a player, has a great attitude about the way she goes about her tennis. I don't think the serve is as big as a issue as you make it out to be, but um, maybe I just haven't seen her enough up
21
close.
double faults. 21 double faults in the semi-finals in Wuhan against Sabalenka. 21.
Yeah, I can also tell you some matches where she served pretty well. Let's try and use average here, and I don't think it's that bad. It's not where I would say let's go there first. I would close the hole on the forehand somehow, and that also the first thing you would do is figure out what is she going to do with the forehand. You know, is she going to be a is she going to try and dictate with the forehand? Is she going to try and step it up? Because whether you want it or not, by far the most offensive points won are coming off the forehand side. So you got to figure out how she's going to use it, and then definitely clear up the technique. There's something in the grip, there's something in the take back, and like you said, but if people players are able to take advantage of that and exploit it in the right way, she has a really tough time of weathering that, and it's very important for her. I think, like you said, that if she wants to, I mean, I still think that if she didn't do anything, she has a few more slams in her, but you use the word multiple, and there's definitely something there, but it also depends. I think it's worth doing it, but are you willing to run the risk of maybe messing up something which is very decent for somebody who's still very young and who's very successful? And maybe there'll be small strides that could help her, and this and that, but it's tough to make these changes. I know Tiger Woods changed his swing twice after having won multiple Grand Slams, so it's that kind of attitude you want, right? Be ahead of the curve, make sure that you win a lot, and I think she could be the right player to have that attitude. But yeah, to reiterate, she definitely would benefit from cleaning up the forehand. I totally agree.
I think, Freddie, I haven't watched her today, and I found myself very much watching as a coach, and analysing her, and again, I have to say, like, I think she's potentially my favourite player out there. Like, I admire so much about her. Like, I think she's unbelievable and amazing for the game. But just a couple of little ones. I would actually look below her hips. I'm not sure that I would be looking at the swing to start, or the grip, or these things. And the thing I noticed today is, and I just wonder if she has something where her right leg isn't as strong as her left. And the reason I say it is, when she moves across the playing off the leg, and in doing so completely blocks the hips. Use the butt playing very army. Well is the forehand when she's actually moving to the left, and she's left of centre, actually is in a more of a semi-open stand, and the same on the serve. And I took some slow-mo videos of it to analyse it a bit, just being a bit of a tennis coach geek. Sorry for people for boring them too much with is her back hip doesn't drive up. She doesn't get great hip extension going. It's on the axis. So then what she ends up doing is she ends up flexing at the body. Very contact. It's all going forward, but it's not 180 kilometers. But the real issue comes to me on the second serve, because she's sideways, she's not going up like you'd want to, and staying sideways on the second serve, and that's where I believe a lot of the double faults are coming. Now, I might be talking out of my arse completely, and I'm sure there's much better tennis coaches than me that don't believe the serve's this monumental issue by any stretch. She has a nice serve in lots of ways. But I just wonder if there is a couple of things there that aren't necessarily what we would call technical changes, but more just technical rhythm, momentum, timing, evolvements within the game. But those, for what it's worth, were a couple of mine today.
Yeah, well, I think it again. I come back to it. Starts with what kind of forehand. What does you want to hit, right? Does you want to close the forehand by taking time away, going in, playing it on the bounce? Does you want to let it fall and generate power on it? I think that's the first thing she has to decide, because that'll give her the answers to what she needs to do technically with her feet. And I completely agree with you. If the most important thing in correcting a shot or developing a shot is working from down and up. So if the feet are not right, it doesn't matter how much you work on the swing or the grip and all that. I completely agree with you, but I do believe that there's because I think there's a case to be made for both situations. She's such a good athlete, and she's really good coming forward, and she can play fast and deal with pace. So there's an argument to be made for taking the ball early, trying to meet the ball before it comes down and use the opponent's pace and hit it back at you, and look to exploit her ability to transition to the net, to the forehand more. Or she can kind of set it up more with her feet and generate more, because she's got the power to do so. And I think it's the number one thing for her is to determine what kind of player she wants to be, because I still think that there's room for that in her tennis. I still think that she relies a lot on attitude and mentality and physicality, and if she gets a little more, I think that's also why she has a few random results. In the sense that she loses a bit more than some of the other top girls do, and if she gets her player, what's the word, her identity a little more strong, I think that'll help a lot, and it'll help her win a lot more matches when she's not feeling great. And with regards to the serve, I think that I haven't looked at her serve that much. That sounds like you have very good intel. The one thing I was looking at that might be able to help, she doesn't have the biggest toss, but I would maybe challenge her to just take it down a little bit, to make it a little more fast and not wait. It sounds like she's waiting a lot, but not wait a little bit for it to come down and then come up, but be a little more explosive up towards it. And I think that might help what you are talking about. I have to say I haven't looked at that serve as much, so I would have to look at it again to be able to counter what you said. But I when I've seen her play, I would maybe encourage her to hit the serve a little faster after the toss.
Yeah, but they say the optimum amount for the ball toss biomechanically is 10 to 30 centimeters above the contact, and I would say Coco's is probably.
Sorry, Dan, something happened. I can't really hear you.
Okay, I can hear you, no
I can
problem.
hear you, no problem.
Okay, I can. Can you hear me again? I can hear you now.
Perfect. But yeah,
Perfect.
so in
But yeah,
terms
so
of
in terms of
we're, we could go on about Coco for a long time, and also about Jess and about what Jess has brought to the party. And like I said, I don't think it was Jess's perfect day. I do want to mention the last result of the day. That's that Paulini again. She's just a little bundle of just joy out on that court. Her and her partner Rani, 6-1 down, came back winning the second set 6-1, and then 10-4 in the tiebreak against Kravchuk and Dollarhide. And then moving into tomorrow, we have, and we're not going to have time to go through it all, but just the matches to look out for. We've got Melikon, Perez against Siniaka. The winner of that, I think, was likely to make their Wen Zhang, and the loser of that match is out. And I think we then have Sabalenka against Paulini. It's hard to see Paulini finding a way against Sabalenka, but she certainly has the character to do it, and she's got the wins under her belt right now, but I think it's hard to see her having the power to hang there. And then we've got Kitchenok and Ostapenko, and just to mention, they had 9-8 up in the third set tiebreak last night. Kitchenok missed a drive volley on top of the net, match point by about a centimetre on the baseline, and then they lost 11-9, and all of a sudden they find themselves in an elimination match against Su Wei, Shea and Elisa Mertens tomorrow night. So those are the matches to look forward to. But Freddie, I want to take it to question time, because we've got a couple of questions coming in, and we got a question here for you. You know, you won Wimbledon quite early in your doubles career. Was it a shock, or were you already confident in your doubles skills?
I was quite confident in my double skills, but I had no idea what it was gonna mean against the best players in the world. I had never won a match at ATP level before Wimbledon, so it was definitely a surprise. I wouldn't say shock. The way I understand the word shock, I wouldn't say it, but it was definitely surprising and something that I didn't expect. We went into the tournament thinking that we could win 2 matches, maybe. And I was just happy to be there to get the chance. But I played some of the top guys in practice and stuff, and I felt like they were good. And I was a little surprised that the level that I was able to play at that good level during the tournament. So that was a surprise, even though I was obviously fairly confident in my double skills, in the sense that I'd always had reasonable success, but I always thought that there was a different level when it came to the slam. So yeah, a very positive surprise that I had no idea coming. I did not see it coming, so I'll say that.
And the next question we've got here, this was from last night actually, we didn't get round to it. We're talking about Rybakina, and I don't know if you've heard the news, but Goran Ivanisevic will be her coach in 2025. I think that's a great appointment. I think that is I can see that working incredibly well, and I think that's a partnership made in heaven. I don't know what you think on that, Fred.
Yeah, I think it's a very astute hiring. I think that could work well. First of all, the game styles obviously suit. She will be able to learn a lot from him, and he seems like a very good character who backs his players. So could be very interesting. There's no doubt that she has some unfulfilled potential that needs to come out, and from what we can understand, there might have been a lot going on in the background that we didn't know about. So I think she'll benefit from having a new coach that could help her from a tennis point of view, and maybe some more peace and quiet in her private life.
I agree. And then the follow-on question from that is there anyone in the WTA you think may benefit from a new coach or perspective? Leila Fernandez comes to mind immediately to me. So much potential, and has been coached by her father for some time now. I have a couple of answers on that, but Freddie, I want to throw it to you first. Anyone that kind of jumps to mind on the WTA tour? Maybe a Caroline Wozniacki, maybe one of your Danish Danish players over there that could do with a fresh perspective? What do you think?
I don't quite like answering this question. I'm a coach myself, and I have respect for my fellow colleagues. And to say that a player needs a fresh perspective would be insinuating that a coach might not be doing a good enough job. So I'm not particularly fond of that. Having said that, I think Coco just stopped working with Brad Gilbert, so I definitely think that she's a good case for it.
In England, Freddie, we call that the Jeffrey boycott. Have you ever heard of the Jeffrey boycott?
I haven't, but you can call me Jeff.
It's when you play a straight bat. Jeffrey Boycott was a very defensive cricket player, and he used to play a straight bat to everyone. Now, Coco does have a new coach who started with her in Asia, who's also with her here. I feel bad. I don't know his name, but they've been working together for the last 2 or 3 months. I know he does have some experience on the tour. He's got some experience in college. It's not a high-profile name, but it's someone who she seems very comfortable to be with. So it's going to be interesting how that works out. I'd be absolutely with you on Leylah Fernandez, and the way that I would answer this question, and maybe I'll get your thoughts, Freddie, here to finish off the stream, is I'm not. Let me word this the right way.
Please do.
Often you need a parent, or you need a driving force to help a player get towards the top of the game. We have many stories of it, and Leylah Fernandez would be one where that parent deserves a lot of credit, assuming they've done it in the right way for the welfare of the person and the player. But then once they get towards that end of the game, that same parent can often become the person that stops them going the next step. I think we've seen it maybe a little bit on the men's tour with Tsitsipas, with Holger Rune. We've seen many stories over the years, and that's where my mind would jump, because I think someone like a Leylah Fernandez would benefit from, and the dad might be still a part of it, and I don't know the ins and outs of how that works, but just benefit from having a new relationship, a different relationship, someone else that's going to come in and bring that as well. The other one that jumps to mind for me, actually, Gabby and Erin played her today, and she's got some serious ability. She's been ranked very high, is Veronika Kudermetova. I think she's been top 20 in the world in singles. She's been number 2 in the world in doubles. She's coached by her husband traveling around. You have these players that are in that situation. Sophia Kenning is another one who travels around with her dad, and I just think I'd maybe go the route on this of like that as a concept. I'm not sure at the highest level of a game that concept works. And I think having someone who's a professional, who's a little bit outside of the picture and coming in, I think is quite vital actually to help with the development and those kind of extra little margins that is needed at the top end of the game. Obviously every situation is different. I'm not saying that these parents need to just do one. In some cases probably it would be better if they did, but having that combination and having someone coming a little bit from the outside, I think is important as well, Freddie.
It could be. It's a very tough situation because it's not math, right? It's not top 2 + 2 is 4, and maybe this person could be a better fit on paper, but then in real life it couldn't work. I can speak from experience with doubles partners. Sometimes I play with some people where it's like this should be great, and then it was awful, and then some other things. So it definitely has to work. And it like if the player is not willing to accept a change or whatever, it doesn't matter how good the supposed new situation is. So it's a very difficult thing, and it all depends on the player. Having said that, in theory, yeah, you're definitely right. and go on to play. There was one player I was thinking of when you were talking who also recently made a bit of coaching change, who I think also could benefit from something to get back to where she was belonging, is Osaka. It'll be interesting to see how she's going to go in 2025, because there's definitely some unfulfilled potential there. And while you were talking, I actually looked up the coach of Coco Gauff, and I believe it's Matt Daly. His name is, and that that name rang a bell. So I had to dig deep, and sure enough, I lost to him in a future in Jamaica in 2003. So he must definitely know his tennis.